You see, every upsizing home buyer, it always do a great job when it comes to doing the process of buying the house, but they always fail at the very end of the whole purchase process. Today, we're going to uncover the top 6 mistakes many upsizing home buyers make in their journey. Let's dive in. So mistake number 1 is overlooking potential repairs. So see, it's very important for you to do the whole process of not only finding the dream home, applying through an offer, going through the financials, going through the entire process of the home inspection, but remember there's always going to be some outstanding items that you have to take care at the end, or maybe the seller has to take care, or something has to be negotiated, maybe it has to be some kind of credit that needs to be worked out. And sometimes those repairs can delay the whole closing, and you already even have your movers ready to move you into the new home. So let's just examine very carefully a lot of these things. You see, you have to check things like the roof, the plumbing, the mechanical items, just to make sure that are in working condition. So that you see, it could have been that you went under contract 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks ago, and settlement is not going to take place for another 30 to 60 days. Anything can happen with these things, especially if you know some of these mechanical items or structural things are at the end of this service life. So it's very important that you pay attention to a lot of these things, ensuring that the final walkthrough you have the opportunity to check all these items. At the time of the final walkthrough, you should have a very complete list of things you and the seller negotiated, were willing to come to an agreement that are going to be repaired prior to the date of settlement. So very important that you have that list with you. You need to ask that to your real estate agent to bring you a copy or email you a copy ahead of time. To be honest with you, you should be even researching a lot of those repairs just for you to have an idea how can it be done. So a lot of people say, what happens if they don't really work out at the time of the home inspection? Then your real estate agents needs to renegotiate some of those items, in maybe in a way of a home credit, maybe in a way of giving you delaying the settlement, which is not the expected, because delaying settlement can actually cost you, especially if you're locked in your interest rate. So maybe that is not an option, but just making sure that money goes in escrow if your lender allows it for the repairs to take care after you have gone to settlement. Very risky. I am of the preference that those things should be done prior to you taking ownership of the property. You see, another mistake a lot of buyers do because they're so excited walking around the property and telling their family members they just got a new house. So the mistake number 2 will be neglecting to test all the appliances. Making sure that all big appliances are in working condition is very important. Your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your washer and dryer, the HVAC system, the trash compactor, the microwave, the stove, the wine cooler, or a second refrigerator, a freezer, just to make sure they're all in working condition. So make sure you test all of these things through this process. You see, the final walkthrough doesn't have a time limit. You can also bring an inspector, the same inspector that helped you with the inspection originally. You can bring him to test those items the seller had agreed in writing to fix for you. So take your time. Do not rush it. This is a very important event. You see, thinking about potential replacement of these things comes into consideration when something like this it happens. Let's say that the seller only agreed to give you credit for a refrigerator that is old, but it's starting to, you just worry that it may not work all the way. So you just need to really ensure that you start doing a lot of these things. If you are going to be buying new appliances, do your research. Like companies like Home Depot, Lowe's can actually have some good sales, especially if you buy your appliances around the holidays season or during a holiday. You can always take advantage of these things. Also, another thing you should consider is if you open a credit card with them, maybe they give you more savings. So just pay attention to those things. Another good thing is if appliances are on the newer side of the spectrum, that you ask the seller if he has any warranties that will convey, because these are very key essential things for you to go ahead and maybe call the company and now let them know that you are the new owner and you want to transfer the warranty under your name. Maybe if you have to pay a little bit for that extended warranty, a lot of these things, refrigerators, especially, not endorsing any brand, but Samsung had a lot of issues with the refrigerators. I own one and had some issues with the ice maker. So just make sure that you have a lot of this documentation, so that way you can give yourself some peace of mind that you're buying something that is good and it's not going to fail. And if it fails, have a plan already to fix those things. You see, mistake number 3 a lot of people do is not verifying their repairs. So if the seller said they're going to be repairing something and they have issued you an invoice from the company, the contractor that came over to do the work, you want to make sure that in reality they have been repaired, so that you have that peace of mind. So make sure that not only you have the receipt from the company that was work, and by the way, the seller should be hiring a licensed and insured company to do these repairs. Just make sure when you are stipulating in your home inspection addendum that you want all of these things to be done by a licensed and bonded contractor, so that way you know has been done professionally. Otherwise, let's just be honest, there are some sellers that be willing to cut some corners, and you're not going to want that. A lot of buyers have actually seen many issues in the homes they're buying because they're buying homes from flippers and investors. Hey, nothing wrong about that. But you remember, these guys are in the business of just trying to cut as much as they can their costs so they can maximize their profit. I remember once one of my clients was buying a house, and we discovered that it was a flip from an investor, and we did a very good home inspection, but we discovered during the final walkthrough, because the seller agreed to do some repairs, that the surface, there was a glass surface on the stove, was cracked. You couldn't even see it. You have to actually just like put your fingers next to it just to really feel it. So we went ahead and told the seller it wasn't that way when we saw the house and we did the inspection. The seller said, no problem, I have a new one this afternoon. Settlement was the following day. So I go back the same afternoon. Guess what? They just went and pulled a stove they had in their warehouse that they took from another house that it was in similar, like look-alike, like the one we were buying, but it was in much worse condition. So we immediately made a huge deal out of it. And we said, we are not going to be proceeding with settlement until we know you have purchased a brand new stove for my client. So guess what? That night, the seller had to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, I remember where it was, and they had to buy a brand new stove that it got delivered the next day and it got installed. So settlement got delayed a couple hours, but my client got what they wanted, right? So just be mindful a lot of those things, because these flippers and investors, as they are removing things from homes they are acquiring, they're sometimes putting these things in a warehouse where they can just, in an emergency, just pull a water heater or something along those lines so that they can continue with the process. So just be mindful. As I said before, this is the time, especially if working with somebody that is an investor or a flipper, that you bring your home inspector again. It may gonna cost you $100, $200, $300 more to bring that person, but guess what? It gives you a lot of peace of mind. Now, remember, the inspector is only going to agree to check the items on that list, on that checklist that was agreed, every little item. And when you make the request, be as specific as you can. Do not write on the inspection, seller to fix the refrigerator. No, you have to be specific. Seller to fix the door of the refrigerator that is not working or is not sealing. If the parts are not available, seller to replace the door. And if the door is not available, seller to credit the buyer the whole amount of the refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? Be as specific as you can. That's very important when you hire an agent to represent you, to be very specific with the outcome you want on a desired home inspection item. If the house is in a homeowners association or a condo, make sure there are not any violations or repairs that the association is demanding that are outstanding. Very important. So if you're buying a house in one of these HOA condo, make sure you receive the resale package, and make sure you see something that is like an inspection walkthrough of the exterior they do of the premises. Make sure there are no violations, because these guys are very picky. You don't want to inherit something like that down the road. Let me know here in the comments if you have experience in buying a house in which you inherited an HOA violation. Let me know in the comments what you feel about. Also, let me know how you feel about buying a house from a flipper. I was just curious to know your thoughts on these things. Another big issue, my number 4, will be ignoring landscaping and exterior concerns. This is very important because you want to be checking for issues with the landscaping. You see, if you see something that is already wrong with the landscaping, you need to bring it up to the attention immediately. One thing I always say is, especially in the raining season, that I see is that if the water tends to sit for more than 24 hours, you see puddles of water, that could be a potential issue. That could be the area is not able to drain this water, and that's not good for you. So you need to make sure, pay attention to a lot of those things just to be in compliance and make sure that you're not buying something that you will regret down the road. Consider long-term maintenance of the outside areas, especially there are some particular kinds of trees that can be very expensive to maintain. Not only, remember, you have to budget for the house, the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, the HOA or condo if it applies, and also the utilities, but the maintenance, that's very important, because if you're buying a house that it needs a lot of maintenance, that's not going to be good news for you. You have to take a look at how the outdoor space actually meets the needs of your loved ones, of your family members. Okay, you're just gonna make sure that if that's something that you feel comfortable with, meaning if you want to have kids running in the backyard, make sure that your backyard is fully fenced in. You don't want to have something that is open, especially if you're back to the woods or to a busy road or to another neighborhood. Just want to make sure that a lot of these things are going to be taken in consideration. And if they are not part of what your standard criteria, maybe that's something you can negotiate up front. You see, part of the outside maintenance also has to do with termites, wood destroying insects. You gotta make sure that you also do your destroying insect inspection, just to make sure that you're not going to be finding those little things called termites that are going to start to be eating your house. They love wood, so especially if the house is older, they love it even better. So make sure you do your inspection, and again, be as detailed as you can when the repair time comes for that type of things. Number 5, failing to confirm all the agreed items are included. You see, a lot of people, as I said, are very excited about the whole process. They sometimes forget about it. They come to the final walkthrough, and especially if you're working with an experienced agent, they just want to say, well, I just want to make sure that utilities are on, that you can flush the toilets, there is water, and the house is in the same place. No, not only that. Remember, there is a list of items that repairs that you need to make sure there's fine. Even if their sellers only give you credit for you to do the repairs on your own, because that's how you feel more comfortable, just make sure that a lot of last minute things are in good conditions, as making sure going to the basement, if the house has a basement, to check that are not like a water problems in the basement, making sure that there are no issues with any of those things, gives you a lot of peace of mind when it comes to buying the house. As I said, many buyers make this huge mistake that on the final step, they miss a lot of these things, and then they feel like they have a really bad experience. Any discrepancy that you can see from the things that you agreed to do from the ones that how they have been done, you really have to be very careful with that, and you have to bring it up immediately to the attention of your agent, so your agent can bring it up to the seller's agent as well as the seller, so that then we can come up with a solution. I have had so many transactions that I had to actually stop, and I hate to delay transactions, but I have to stop them and have to ask for a delay because I was not comfortable the way something was taken care of by the homeowner. And if something is not to your standards and criteria, there are actually forms that it says that upon the completion of the final walkthrough, you found the following items not to meet the criteria, and you have to write them specifically and also bring a proof of your original request on how you want it fixed. So maybe this can be curated at the settlement table with a check that the seller will give you, given that the lender will allow it. Maybe it's a credit, last minute credit, so that the final settlement statement has to be edited, changed, but never, ever, ever take money under the table. This can backfire you down the road. And the very last step, it will be the mistakes. The number 6 will be overlooking the small details that can really affect your daily life. Okay, very little things. Sometimes you say, well, Robert, we went to the house. I'll give you an example. We went to the house. Everything looks good. Seller has done everything. But we noticed the toilet on the powder room, it's a little bit loose. It's not secure. Well, something as little as that can actually give you a big headache down the road. So make an assessment of all these little things. Water pressure is another thing that you want to make sure, like that one day the pressure was high and then it's low. That can be a big problem. Lighting condition, flickering lights is also a big issue that sometimes you cannot just see. Remember, you only have a short period of time to understand how this house is working. So you got to do the best you can. And the home inspection is typically 2 to 3 hours. So even if you bring the best inspector in town, there will be some surprises. So make sure that you don't overlook a lot of these things. Take a look at minor repairs that maybe you wanted to be doing, minor improvements. A lot of homes that are still like have old thermostat that are not smart to understand behaviors, maybe this is something where you want to budget for a smart thermostat, security cameras, smart locks, or smart like light switches and stuff like that. So that can help you with your energy saving plans down the road, and also to make your house look more modern. And as I said, always, always, always document everything that you do. Take pictures of these things, take videos if you can, something is not working. If there are any water leaks, always look under the cabinets, especially those that have a water connection, like the sink cabinets, in the bathroom, in the kitchen. Always look wherever there is water, because water behaves in some uncertain way sometimes. The pressure changes overnight, a lot of those things, like turn all the lights on at the same time, just to make sure there's not going to be any lights flickering and doing any of those things. And remember, anything you see that you don't like, take a picture, take a video, document these things, so that way your realtor has enough ammunition to go after the seller to fix a lot of these things. Listen, by paying attention to a lot of these common mistakes, I assure you that you're going to be saving a lot of things, and yourself, you will be saving, not, all these headaches and things are going to be a thing of the past. So just make sure that you have a lot of those things, so that way you can take care of yourself and your loved ones and have peace of mind. And you know that the day you're moving into that house, you're going to enjoy it. Again, I'm Robert Garcia, and I am here to help you upsize to your dream home the smart and easy way. Do me a favor, and if you like this kind of content, give it a like over there, leave me a comment, and subscribe. I put videos every week. Have a good day. Bye-bye.